Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you a story, not one of grand triumph or immediate success, but one of a pivotal shift, a reorientation in my perception that altered the trajectory of my life. Taking responsibility for your life is one of the most profound and transformative shifts a person can experience. At first glance, this might seem like a simple or even obvious statement, but its depth lies in the challenge of truly embodying it. Responsibility means more than just doing what's expected of you. It is a full acceptance of the role you play in your own life, acknowledging that the decisions you make, the actions you take, and even the failures you experience are fundamentally yours to own. Many people resist this idea. It's much easier, after all, to point the finger outward, to say that your problems are caused by someone else, or that life has treated you unfairly. And in truth, life often is unfair. There are circumstances beyond your control. Your upbringing, the culture you were born into, the tragedies you may have endured, these are undeniable. But here's the critical point. While you may not be responsible for everything that happens to you, you are always responsible for how you respond. Imagine for a moment the alternative. If you decide that your failures or difficulties are entirely the fault of external forces, your parents, your employer, society, what you are effectively doing is relinquishing control over your own life. You are saying, I am powerless to change this. And once you adopt that mindset, any hope of improvement evaporates. Why? Because if you aren't responsible, you can't act. And if you can't act, you remain stuck in whatever situation you find yourself in. Taking responsibility, on the other hand, is empowering. It is the first step toward growth because it places the locus of control squarely in your hands. It's not about blaming yourself for everything that's gone wrong. That would be just as unproductive as blaming others. Instead, it's about recognizing that no matter where you are, you have the ability to take action, however small, to move forward. Responsibility is not about perfection or guaranteeing success. It's about refusing to surrender to despair and inaction. But let's be clear, accepting responsibility is not easy. It requires humility because it forces you to confront uncomfortable truths about yourself. Perhaps you've made mistakes, perhaps you've been lazy, avoided hard decisions, or acted selfishly. These are painful realizations, and the temptation to turn away from them is strong. After all, who wants to admit their own shortcomings? But if you can muster the courage to face these truths, you open the door to real change. You give yourself the opportunity to do better. Moreover, responsibility is not a one-time decision. It's an ongoing process. Every day you are presented with choices. And with those choices comes the chance to take ownership of your life or to shrink back into passivity. Sometimes this means doing things you'd rather not do. It might mean waking up early to go to work, even when you're exhausted. It might mean having a difficult conversation with a friend or family member instead of avoiding the issue. It might mean acknowledging that you've been wrong about something and making amends. These are not glamorous actions, but they are the foundation of a meaningful life. When you take responsibility, you also begin to see the world differently. Problems that once seemed insurmountable start to appear as challenges you can overcome. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? You start asking, what can I do about this? That shift in perspective is transformative because it moves you from a place of helplessness to a place of agency. You stop waiting for someone else to solve your problems and start taking steps to solve them yourself. One of the most profound aspects of responsibility is that it brings meaning to your life. Human beings are not meant to drift aimlessly, indulging in fleeting pleasures or avoiding discomfort at all costs. We thrive when we have a purpose, when we are working towards something worthwhile. Responsibility provides that purpose. Whether it's caring for your family, pursuing a career, contributing to your community, or simply striving to become a better person, taking responsibility gives your life structure and direction. Of course, responsibility also involves risk. When you take ownership of your actions, you open yourself up to failure. You might try your best and still fall short. That's the reality of life. And it can be discouraging. But even in failure, there is value. Each setback is an opportunity to learn, to adjust, and to grow. Failure is not the end, it's part of the process. And when you understand this, you become less afraid of taking risks and more willing to step outside your comfort zone. Furthermore, taking responsibility doesn't just benefit you, it benefits those around you. When you act responsibly, you become a reliable, trustworthy person, someone others can depend on. You contribute to the stability and well-being of your relationships, your workplace, and your community. In this way, your personal growth has a ripple effect, creating a positive impact that extends far beyond yourself. So, what does it look like to take responsibility in practice? It starts with small steps. Identify one area of your life where you've been avoiding responsibility and make a conscious decision to address it. Maybe it's your health, your finances, your relationships, or your work ethic. Commit to doing one thing each day to improve in that area, no matter how small. Over time, these small actions will add up, and you'll begin to see real progress. It's also important to be patient with yourself. Taking responsibility doesn't mean expecting perfection. You will make mistakes, and you will encounter obstacles. That's okay. What matters is that you keep trying, that you keep moving forward, even when it's difficult. Each day is an opportunity to start anew, to take another step toward becoming the person you want to be. In the end, taking responsibility is not just about improving your life. It's about becoming the kind of person who can handle life's challenges with integrity and resilience. It's about building a foundation of strength and character that will serve you in good times, and about living in a way that you can be proud of, knowing that you've done your best to create a meaningful and fulfilling life. And that truly is a shift worth making. Life is inherently chaotic, a swirling tide of uncertainty, challenges, and unexpected twists that can leave us feeling lost or overwhelmed. Chaos is an ever-present force in existence, not something that can be avoided or eliminated. It manifests in countless forms: the sudden loss of a job, the breakdown of a relationship, a health crisis, or even the creeping realization that the life you've built isn't aligned with your deeper values. It is inescapable. Yet chaos is not inherently negative. It is simply the unknown, the unpredictable, and the unstructured. What matters is how you choose to respond to it. The ability to face chaos with courage is what transforms it from an overwhelming force into an opportunity for growth. When you encounter chaos, your first instinct might be to run from it, to hide behind routines, distractions, or denial. This reaction is natural. Our minds seek order, predictability, and safety. But avoiding chaos doesn't make it disappear. In fact, it often makes things worse. Ignored problems tend to grow. The job you hate becomes a prison. The unresolved conflict in your relationship festers. The nagging health issue becomes a crisis. Avoidance only delays the inevitable confrontation, often making it more painful in the process. Facing chaos requires courage, but courage isn't the absence of fear, it's the decision to act despite fear. To confront the chaos in your life, you first need to acknowledge it exists. This can be one of the hardest steps because it forces you to admit that something is wrong. Perhaps you've been pretending everything is fine when deep down you know it isn't. Perhaps you've been telling yourself stories to justify your inaction. I'll deal with this later. It's not that bad. Or there's nothing I can do about it. These stories are comforting, but they keep you trapped. Facing chaos begins with stripping away these illusions and confronting the truth, no matter how uncomfortable it may be. Once you've acknowledged the chaos, the next step is to confront it directly. This is not a passive process. It's active and intentional. It might mean having a difficult conversation with someone you've been avoiding. It might mean quitting a job that's draining your soul or seeking help for a problem you can't solve alone. It might mean looking in the mirror and admitting that you've been contributing to your own suffering through poor choices or destructive habits. These actions are not easy, but they are necessary. Growth doesn't happen in comfort. It happens when you step into the unknown, when you take risks and face challenges head on. As you confront chaos, it's important to remember that you don't have to solve everything at once. Chaos is, by its nature, overwhelming. If you try to tackle it all at once, you'll likely feel paralyzed. Instead, break it down into smaller, manageable pieces. Identify one area of your life where chaos is most pressing and focus your energy there. Ask yourself, what's one thing I can do today to bring a little more order to this part of my life? Maybe it's as simple as organizing your workspace, setting a boundary with someone, or creating a plan for the week. Small actions may seem insignificant, but they add up over time. Each step forward builds momentum, and with each success, your confidence grows. As you work to bring order to chaos, you'll likely encounter resistance, not just from the outside world, but from within yourself. Your mind will try to pull you back into old patterns of avoidance and distraction. Fear will whisper that it's safer to stay where you are, even if where you are is making you miserable. This is why courage is so important. Courage isn't a one-time decision. It's something you practice every day. It's choosing again and again to face the unknown rather than retreat from it. One of the most transformative aspects of confronting chaos is the realization that it contains the seeds of opportunity. Chaos, by definition, is a state of flux, and in flux lies potential. When everything is upended, when the old structures have fallen apart, there is room for something new to emerge. Chaos forces you to reevaluate your life, to ask hard questions about what you truly value and what kind of person you want to be. And it's in these moments of upheaval that you have the greatest potential to grow, to learn, and to redefine yourself. Consider the story of a forest fire. At first glance, it's pure destruction. Trees are reduced to ash and the landscape seems barren. But beneath the surface, the fire has cleared away dead wood and made room for new growth. The nutrients released by the fire enrich the soil, and soon the forest begins to regenerate, stronger and more vibrant than before. Chaos in life works in much the same way. It clears away what is no longer serving you, creating space for something better. This doesn't mean that chaos is easy to endure. It can be painful, disorienting, and frightening. But if you approach it with courage and an open mind, it can also be transformative. You learn who you are in chaos. You discover your strengths, your values, and your capacity to endure. You realize that you are more capable than you thought, that you can handle uncertainty and come out stronger on the other side. Facing chaos is not just about personal growth, it's about contributing to the world around you. When you confront chaos in your own life, you become a stabilizing force for others. You show that it's possible to navigate uncertainty with integrity and resilience. You inspire those around you to do the same. In this way, your courage ripples outward, creating order not just in your life, but in the lives of those you touch. Ultimately, chaos is a part of life. You can't avoid it, but you can choose how you respond to it. You can run from it, allowing it to grow and take over, or you can face it with courage, using it as a catalyst for growth and transformation. The choice is yours, and it's a choice you'll have to make again and again. But every time you choose courage, every time you take a step toward order, you become stronger. You become someone who can handle the chaos of life, not just for yourself, but for the benefit of others. And in that, there is immense meaning. Change, especially meaningful and lasting change, does not occur overnight. It unfolds incrementally through a series of small, deliberate actions taken consistently over time. This principle of gradual improvement may seem deceptively simple, but it is one of the most profound and effective ways to transform your life. The idea is not to overhaul everything at once, but to focus on making manageable, sustainable changes that, when compounded over weeks, months, or even years, lead to extraordinary progress. When people think about transformation, they often envision dramatic, sweeping changes, a complete reinvention of themselves or their circumstances. While this kind of thinking can be inspiring, it is also overwhelming and, in many cases, paralyzing. The sheer magnitude of such a task can make it difficult to even begin. And if you do begin, the enormity of the goal can make it hard to sustain the effort required to achieve it. This is why so many people abandon their New Year's resolutions or other ambitious plans for self-improvement. They set goals that are too big, too vague, or too distant And when the inevitable obstacles arise, they lose momentum. The power of incremental improvement lies in its practicality. Instead of focusing on the end result, you focus on the process, on the small, achievable steps you can take each day to move closer to your goal. These steps might seem insignificant on their own, but they build upon one another, creating a snowball effect. Over time, the cumulative impact of these small actions becomes enormous. This is the principle behind the idea of getting 1% better every day. A 1% improvement might not seem like much, but if you improve by 1% every day, you'll be 37 times better after a year. That's the power of compounding, not just in finance, but in life. To embrace incremental improvement, you must first identify the areas of your life that need change. This requires honest self-reflection, which can be uncomfortable, but is essential for growth. Maybe you realize that your physical health has been neglected, or that your relationships need more attention, or that your professional skills are outdated. Whatever the case may be, the key is to start small. If you're trying to improve your health, for example, you might begin by drinking more water each day or going for a 10-minute walk. These are small, manageable actions that you can incorporate into your routine without feeling overwhelmed. The beauty of starting small is that it builds momentum. Each small success gives you a sense of accomplishment, which motivates you to keep going. As you see progress, no matter how modest, you begin to believe in your ability to change. This belief is crucial because self-doubt is one of the biggest obstacles to personal growth. When you set massive, unrealistic goals and fail to achieve them, it reinforces the narrative that you're not capable of change. But when you set small, achievable goals and consistently meet them, you start to rewrite that narrative. You begin to see yourself as someone who can set goals and follow through on them. Another important aspect of incremental improvement is the idea of focusing on habits rather than outcomes. Outcomes, like losing a certain amount of weight or earning a promotion, are the results of habits, the daily actions and behaviors that shape life. Instead of fixating on the outcome, ask yourself what kind of person would achieve this outcome. If your goal is to become healthier, for instance, focus on developing the habits of a healthy person, such as exercising regularly, eating nutritious food, and getting enough sleep. By focusing on the habits, the outcomes will take care of themselves. It's also worth noting that incremental improvement requires patience and persistence. In a world that prizes instant gratification, this can be challenging. We're bombarded with messages promising quick fixes and overnight success, but real, meaningful change doesn't work that way. It's a slow, often tedious process. And there will be times when progress feels painfully slow or even non-existent. During these times, it's important to remind yourself of the long-term perspective. Growth is not linear. There will be setbacks and plateaus, but these are a natural part of the process. What matters is that you keep showing up, keep putting in the effort, and trust that the results will come. Incremental improvement also teaches you the value of consistency. It's not about doing something perfectly every once in a while. It's about doing it well enough, consistently over time. Consistency builds discipline, and discipline builds character. Each time you make the choice to act in alignment with your goals, you strengthen your commitment to them. Over time, these actions become habits, and those habits become part of your identity. You go from being someone who is trying to change to someone who has changed. An important part of this process is learning to celebrate small wins. It's easy to get so focused on the end goal that you forget to acknowledge the progress you're making along the way. But celebrating small wins is crucial because it reinforces your motivation and helps you stay engaged. Each small victory is a reminder that you're moving in the right direction, and it gives you the confidence to keep going. Incremental improvement is also about adaptability. As you take small steps, you learn more about yourself and the path you're on. You gain insights that allow you to adjust your approach as needed. This flexibility is important because life is unpredictable, and the ability to adapt is key to sustaining progress. If one approach isn't working, you can try another. The important thing is to keep moving forward, even if the path looks different from what you initially envisioned. Ultimately, incremental improvement is about building a life of meaning and purpose, one small step at a time. It's not about perfection or achieving some idealized version of yourself. It's about becoming a little bit better each day, more disciplined, more compassionate, more knowledgeable, more aligned with your values. Over time, these small improvements add up to something extraordinary. They transform not just what you do, but who you are. And that transformation is both the journey and the destination. Understanding your values and aligning your actions with them is a cornerstone of a meaningful and fulfilling life. Values are not abstract concepts floating above the fray of your daily existence. They are the guiding principles that determine how you interact with the world, how you treat others, and how you judge your own behavior. Without a clear sense of your values, you risk drifting aimlessly, making decisions based on convenience or fleeting emotions rather than on what truly matters to you. Clarifying and living by your values is not only a source of personal integrity, but also a way to bring order and direction to your life. The first step in understanding your values is self-reflection. Many people live their lives without ever pausing to ask themselves what they truly care about. They may adopt the values of their family, community, or culture without questioning whether those values resonate with their own sense of purpose. Or they may avoid thinking about values altogether, preferring instead to follow the path of least resistance. But values are not something you stumble upon by accident. They are something you must actively define for yourself. This requires taking the time to look inward and ask difficult questions. What kind of person do I want to be? What principles am I unwilling to compromise? What legacy do I want to leave behind? Answering these questions is not always easy. It can be uncomfortable to confront the gap between the person you are and the person you want to be. You may realize that you've been living in a way that contradicts your deeper values, prioritizing things like status, material success, or external validation over authenticity, compassion, or contribution. These realizations can be painful, but they are also necessary. You cannot begin to align your actions with your values until you are honest with yourself about where you stand. Once you've identified your core values, the next challenge is to translate them into action. This is where many people struggle. It's one thing to say that you value honesty, kindness, or perseverance. It's another thing entirely to live by those values in a world that often seems to reward dishonesty, selfishness, and shortcuts. Aligning your actions with your values requires a commitment to integrity, a willingness to do what's right, even when it's difficult or inconvenient. It means choosing to act in accordance with your principles, not because it's easy, but because it's who you are. Living according to your values also requires clarity and focus. Life is full of distractions and competing priorities, and it's easy to lose sight of what truly matters. This is why it's important to regularly revisit your values and assess whether your actions are aligned with them. Are you spending your time on things that reflect your priorities? Or are you being pulled in? Are you making decisions based on your principles? Or are you allowing fear, pressure, or habit to dictate your choices? These are questions worth asking on a regular basis, because alignment with your values is not something you achieve once and for all. It's a continuous process. Another critical aspect of living by your values is setting boundaries. When you are clear about what you stand for, you can more easily identify situations, relationships, or behaviors that are inconsistent with your principles. Setting boundaries is not about being rigid or inflexible. It's about protecting your integrity and ensuring that your actions reflect your values. This might mean saying no to opportunities that don't align with your goals, ending toxic relationships, or standing up for what you believe in, even when it's unpopular. These choices can be difficult, but they are essential for living authentically. Living in alignment with your values also requires courage. It's not always easy to stick to your principles, especially in the face of adversity or criticism. There will be times when doing the right thing feels risky or uncomfortable, when it would be easier to compromise your values for the sake of convenience or approval. But compromising your values comes at a cost. Each time you act in a way that contradicts your principles, You chip away at your self-respect and your sense of identity. Conversely, each time you act in alignment with your values, you strengthen your character and build a life that reflects who you truly are. It's important to recognize that aligning your actions with your values doesn't mean you'll never make mistakes or fall short. You're human, and there will be times when you fail to live up to your own standards. What matters is how you respond to those moments. Do you acknowledge your mistakes, learn from them, and recommit to your values? Or do you use them as an excuse? The path of integrity is not a straight line. It's a journey of growth, reflection, and course correction. One of the most rewarding aspects of living by your values is the sense of meaning and fulfillment it brings. When your actions are aligned with your principles, you experience a deep sense of coherence, a feeling that your life makes sense and that you are living in a way that is true to yourself. This sense of coherence is a powerful antidote to the chaos and uncertainty of life. It gives you a foundation to stand on, even when everything around you feels unstable or unpredictable. Living in alignment with your values also has a ripple effect. When you act with integrity, you inspire others to do the same. Your actions become a model for those around you, showing that it's possible to live a life guided by principles rather than expedience. This doesn't mean you have to be perfect or pretend to have all the answers. It simply means being honest about what you stand for and doing your best to live by those principles every day. In doing so, you contribute not only to your own well-being, but also to the well-being of your relationships, your community, and the world at large. Ultimately, understanding your values and aligning your actions with them is not just about living a good life. It's about becoming the person you were meant to be. It's about creating a life that reflects your deepest beliefs and highest aspirations. This process is not always easy, but it is profoundly worth it. When you live in alignment with your values, you create a life of purpose, integrity, and meaning. A life that, in the end, you can look back on with pride. Life's challenges, its trials, and its suffering are not merely obstacles to avoid or endure. They are opportunities to learn, adapt, and ultimately grow. Adversity, by its nature, disrupts the status quo. It pushes us out of our comfort zones and forces us to confront realities we might otherwise ignore. While no one seeks out hardship, it is often through difficulty that we discover our greatest strengths, deepest values, and truest selves. The key to navigating life's challenges lies not in avoiding them, but in choosing to engage with them constructively, embracing the lessons they offer and using those lessons to become stronger and more capable. When we face adversity, our initial response is often resistance. We don't want to deal with discomfort, uncertainty, or pain. It's natural to wish for an easier path, to hope that problems will resolve themselves without requiring much from us. However, avoiding challenges doesn't make them disappear. In fact, it often makes them grow. Problems left unaddressed have a way of compounding, like a small leak in a roof that, if ignored, eventually causes structural damage. And facing challenges head-on might feel daunting, but it is the only way to prevent them from taking over your life. One of the most important realizations when dealing with adversity is that it is not the challenge itself that defines us, but how we respond to it. The same difficulty that breaks one person might propel another toward growth and achievement. The difference lies in mindset. Those who see challenges as insurmountable obstacles often feel defeated before they even begin. They focus on what they lack, the resources, skills, or strength they believe they need to overcome the problem. In contrast, those who embrace challenges as opportunities for growth focus on what they can do. They ask themselves, what can I learn from this? How can I use this experience to improve myself or my circumstances? This shift in perspective is transformative because it empowers you to take action rather than remain paralyzed by fear or self-doubt. Growth through challenges often begins with accepting reality. Denial is a common response to adversity. We tell ourselves that things aren't as bad as they seem, or that the problem will go away if we ignore it long enough. But denial only delays the inevitable. Acceptance, on the other hand, allows us to see the situation clearly and begin addressing it. Acceptance doesn't mean resignation. It doesn't mean giving up or assuming the problem can't be solved. It simply means acknowledging what is true so that you can take the next step forward. Once you've accepted the reality of the challenge, the next step is to break it down into manageable parts. Big problems can feel overwhelming, like a mountain too high to climb, but even the tallest mountain can be scaled one step at a time. By focusing on small, achievable actions, you can make progress without becoming overwhelmed. Each small success builds momentum, giving you the confidence and motivation to tackle the next step. Over time, these small actions add up, and what once seemed impossible becomes achievable. Adversity is also an opportunity to develop resilience. Resilience is the ability to bounce back from setbacks, to adapt to change, and to keep going even when things get tough. It is not something you are born with, it is something you build through experience. Each time you face a challenge and persevere, you strengthen your resilience. You learn that you are capable of handling difficulties, and this knowledge becomes a source of confidence and strength. Resilience doesn't mean you won't feel pain, fear, or doubt. It means you'll move forward despite those feelings. Another crucial lesson that challenges teach us is the importance of perspective. When you're in the midst of a difficult situation, it can feel all-encompassing, as though it defines your entire life. But often, when you look back on those challenges later, you see them differently. You recognize how they helped you grow, what they taught you, and how they shaped the person you've become. Keeping this long-term perspective in mind can help you navigate present difficulties. Ask yourself, how might I look back on this experience in the future? What might I learn from it? How could it help me grow? Shifting your focus in this way allows you to see challenges as part of a larger narrative, one in which you are the protagonist, working toward a meaningful goal. Adversity also fosters empathy and connection. When you've experienced hardship, you're better able to understand and support others who are going through similar struggles. This shared understanding can deepen your relationships and give you a greater sense of purpose. Many people find that the challenges they've faced enable them to contribute to the world in meaningful ways, whether by mentoring others, advocating for change, or simply being a source of compassion and support. In this way, the difficulties you face don't just benefit you, they also create ripples that touch the lives of others. It's important to acknowledge that growth through challenges doesn't happen automatically. Hardship alone doesn't make you stronger. It's what you do in response to hardship that matters. Some people face adversity and become bitter, angry, or withdrawn. Others use it as a catalyst for growth, channeling their pain into action, creativity, or self-improvement. The difference lies in how you choose to interpret and respond to the challenges you face. Do you see them as evidence that life is unfair, or do you see them as opportunities to test your strength and build your character? Ultimately, the process of growing through challenges is one of transformation. It's about taking what life throws at you, whether it's loss, failure, rejection, or uncertainty, and using it as fuel for personal development. It's about recognizing that while you may not have control over what happens to you, you do have control over how you respond. This realization is empowering because it puts the responsibility for your growth squarely in your hands. It allows you to move from a place of victimhood to a place of agency, where you are actively shaping your life and your future. Life will always present challenges. That is an unavoidable reality. But within those challenges lies the potential for growth, learning, and transformation. Each difficulty you face is an opportunity to become stronger, wiser, and more resilient. It's an opportunity to align more closely with your values, to discover what truly matters, and to contribute to the world in meaningful ways. Embracing challenges as opportunities for growth is not easy, but it is one of the most rewarding choices you can make. It is through this process that you not only overcome adversity, but also become the person you were meant to be. In the journey of life, we are constantly shaped by the choices we make, the values we uphold, the challenges we face, and the small incremental steps we take each day. True transformation does not come from a single, sweeping moment, but from the steady alignment of our actions with our principles, the courage to confront adversity, and the willingness to learn and grow. Each of these elements, the clarity of purpose, the power of incremental improvement, the alignment of values, and the lessons born from challenges, forms the foundation of a meaningful and fulfilling life. The shift that changes your life begins with taking responsibility for who you are and who you wish to become. It is not about perfection, but about striving toward betterment, one deliberate choice at a time. It is about acknowledging the immense potential within you, recognizing that even in the face of hardship, you have the power to persevere, adapt, and create meaning. As you navigate your path, remember that every challenge is an opportunity. Every small step matters, and every act of integrity reinforces the foundation of the life you are building. Transformation is not a destination. It is a continuous process of becoming. By embracing this process, you not only improve your own life, but also inspire and uplift those around you. The shift that changes your life is within your reach. It begins with the decision to act, to grow, and to live authentically. It is a journey worth undertaking, for it leads not only to personal fulfillment, but also to a life of purpose, resilience, and significance.